Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
I can hear you. Can they hear me? Can you hear me, I guess, first of all? Okay. 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 They can't hear either of us. The Calgary Flames
Warning,
somehow
incoming
find a
game
way
over.
to pick up a victory here tonight over the Pittsburgh Penguins. At times, they were soundly outplaying the Penguins. At times, they were being soundly outplayed. And then it seemed like it was going to be a loss, and then it wasn't a loss. And now the Calgary Flames find themselves darn near perfect through the first 6 games of the season with a 5-0-1 mark. So yes, thank you. Welcome to Game Over. My name is Peter Klein. He is Matt. We will get to him once the microphone thing starts working. Matt, once you have figured it out, just absolutely tell me to shut up, and I will I will be okay with that, and
I
we can just kind of
think
roll from
I
there.
fixed it out. I'm not too sure though.
Okay.
I would love if everybody in the chat could let me know if that's been rectified. But if not, you can keep firing away until I get. Oh, perfect. They can hear me. Lovely.
Excellent.
Oh my gosh, I am so sorry about that. This is my first time hosting the Game Over Calgary stream. So obviously, with that comes a lot of technical difficulties on my end. Well, as thank you, Peter, for kicking us off tonight. Um, Little bit of a crazy start to the stream today, but let's kind of get back in gear here. Again, as Peter said, welcome to the Game Over Calgary post-game show. Now, Peter, what a hectic / fun day it was for the hockey community just as a whole with the NHL's Frozen Frenzy 16-game slate starting at 4 p.m. today and, running as we're speaking with the late night games on that Pacific coast. Now, at least we're wrapping up our night full of hockey with a little post-game coverage of the Penguins and Flames games that just went down at the Scotiabank Saddledome. Now, before we kind of get started into diving into this game, I just wanted to shout out our flagship show on the Game Over Network. That is Hyperdrive Hockey. All things hockey across various leagues in multiple countries, wherever it is and whenever it is. Max, Daphne, and Kev have you covered for all of your hockey news with a steady dose of fun and fan engagement. You can find Hyperdrive Hockey on the Game Over Network YouTube channel or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast on the Hyperdrive Hockey page at the GameOverNetwork.com. Now, Peter, throwing it back to what we saw at the Flames game today, I can't say that, for much of the game, that was kind of a result that I was expecting. At times, I kind of figured that the, Flames kind of were out of the game, not necessarily because they were playing bad, but they just kind of had a pretty good opponent, Sidney Crosby, Evgeni Malkin, Erik Karlsson, list goes on and on with the kind of guys that the Flames are facing off again tonight. But I would say, at least for me, the biggest takeaway workhorse from what we saw tonight is Dustin Wolf. Now I'll flip this to you. What did you think of Dustin's performance tonight?
Well, first of all, I appreciate workhorse with Blasty on the front of the jersey. That's something we need to be able to work into this. And I don't know how we get a wolf and horse sound effect on the same thing, but no, I thought Wolf was really, really good in this game. I have been the one who is, or one of the ones anyway. I don't think I've been overly unique in this, but I certainly have been one of the ones who have been kind of going to bat for Wolf so far and suggesting that he is someone who should be getting a few more opportunities. And I thought in this game, there were a lot of times where things were breaking down around him and things were going a little bit crazy. And he was able to just kind of steady everything down or settle everything down and be kind of that steadying influence back between the pipes. And I take great confidence in him doing that. That is a really good offensive team that was out there for the Penguins. It was not a perfect performance from Wolf. I think that the Raquel goal had a bit of a stink to it. I thought that things became a little bit noticeable in the shootout, and we can touch on that in a little bit, but I don't want to be overly negative. I thought he was great, and I thought he is probably, if we were to look at kind of a lot of times I use the reference blame pie. I guess this one would be the celebration pie. I think he gets the biggest chunk for his contributions to the Flames win tonight.
I absolutely agree with you. I think, like you said, I don't think by any stretch of the imagination it was a perfect game by him. But I think the biggest thing that we can take away from a performance like that is he stepped up for the team when you kind of expected him to. He made all the timely saves. He made all the saves that a netminder needed to make. Again, I will agree with you in the sense that Raquel goal is something that he would definitely want back. And I definitely think that's I wouldn't call it immaturity, but it would be like that not kind of veteran presence that he has in the crease, that kind of he read the play a little bit, or he spent too much kind of reading the play and kind of expecting what was to come there, and it kind of bit him and stuff. I would say the other two goals, I don't know if you can really throw too much blame his way. I think that third goal was just, I will say it was a defensive breakdown from the Flames. I think I think at this level, at the level these guys are playing, you don't really let a guy like that sit and just jam away at your netminder without kind of giving him any kind of pushback. So I will say we do want to talk a little later on the show about what we saw on defense tonight, but that third goal is probably going to be a little bit more. I believe he was Anderson and Ball on the ice, but all in all, I thought it was a pretty good outing by Wolf, and I mean, a good start for what should be, in theory, a pretty lengthy time in the crease this season.
Totally. And yeah, like that one goal. Hi Anand in the chat, by the way. But that one goal that we were kind of referencing, the Raquel one, that is one where if that's an AHL shot, I think he stops it, right? Like that is just that is part of the growing pains of transitioning from the American Hockey League into the National Hockey League, is that now you are facing NHL shooters on a nightly basis. And like when you're playing in the American Hockey League, Ricard Raquel isn't walking through that door, right? Like you don't have those type of guys who are shooting at you. And I thought Raquel had a really good game too. I know we don't do a whole lot on the other teams here, but for Pittsburgh, I thought he and Crosby were fantastic tonight. But no, that third one was a bit of a defensive breakdown. And so you just kind of, you accept that that's what's going to happen. And then on the first goal, it's a puck battle that's lost on the wall. And then Rust, who is, has been a high-level offensive player for a really long time, is just all alone in the slot. And that, again, is going to go in on most goalies. So I think that there are a lot of positives to take from this for Dustin Wolf. And I think another thing to consider here is this is, I think by a relatively significant margin, the toughest competition he has faced so far in terms of when you're going out there against Karlsson and Malkin and Crosby and Letang and Rust and Raquel and all of those guys. They were, I guess, for lack of a better term, kind of sheltering him a little bit in the first couple of outings that he had. This is a flawed Pittsburgh Penguins roster for sure, but this is a team that has a lot of offensive firepower. And I think that Wolf handled that exceptionally well tonight. I came away from this game really impressed with him, and that's maybe that is a little bit lower standards for a team that we're not expecting a ton from when you give up 3 goals and the number one star of the game is, well, the goalie played well. But I think we're going to have a lot of games like that this year with the Calgary Flames.
Agreed. And I mean, as much I can start ranting at how much I hate the shootout in regulation, but I mean, if you want a real true test of Wolf's capabilities between the pipes, I think the shootout was a good test as well. I mean, he wasn't perfect in similar fashion to what we saw in the game, but I mean, he made the saves in the shootout that the Flames needed to make. The Flames didn't score every single goal on the other end of the ice, so he got saved by a post once, but he made I believe he was 2, maybe 3 big saves in that shootout as well. And I don't know if there's a more true test to a netminder than a one-on-one, and he went up against, like you said, a few of the very best guys that this league kind of has to offer. So before we kind of pivot to another talking point here, I'll just kind of flip a question your way about Wolf here. As we head towards, deeper into the regular season here, what are you kind of hoping to see the Flames kind of give him in terms of like a workload?
Yeah, I am still on the train that I think you need to give him more of the workload than Dan Vladar. And I understand that is not a knock on anything Vladar has done. He has been fantastic so far. He was really sharp. He was the only one who was really sharp in that game against Seattle the last go around. And so I think that it seems right now it's it doesn't seem, it has been a 50-50 split right now between those two goalies. I would like to see a little bit more of it go the way of Dustin Wolf, and just again, because I think a lot of the developing that he has to do is just get acclimated to NHL speed, NHL shots, NHL bodies, all of that stuff. And the only way you can do that is in live game action. You can practice as hard as you want. It's just different when it's out there, out on the ice. And so I still think that it should be not a 50-50 split, but not 60-40 either, like somewhere in between, like a 52-48 in terms of percentage points. Obviously, they don't play 100 games, but I think that's what it should be. Just kind of a bit more of a lean on the Dustin Wolf side of things. And I think that kind of comes as the season goes along. I think right now, both guys are going well, and so you just kind of ride it out. I do think that when a couple of them hit, or when either of them hit a speed wobble, you just kind of bring the other one in and ease the other guy back in and try to work through it that way. So it will be a bit of a hot hand approach as the season goes along, but I do think that I would still like to see Wolf come out of this season as the one who plays the most games between the pipes for Calgary this year.
Yeah, I agree with you. We got Conrad in the chat as well saying that with as good as Wolf's looking, his perspective is to fire Dan Vladar into the sun while teams kind of have a need for goaltending. And I definitely see that perspective as well, right? For years we've kind of pegged Wolf as the Flames goaltender of the future, right? So with that in mind, I definitely don't think, no pun intended, but I don't think is ready to just feed him or send him straight or feed him to the Wolves in the NHL sense. But split starts, and I think what we saw from Devin Cooley, as Conrad said as well, like he's shown potential as a good backup piece as well too. So I see the perspective with sending Vladar into the metaphorical sun, and there is a benefit to that, as well as with the Flames being in a bit of not a bit of a rebuild, they're in the rebuild, right? So if there's any kind of chance to pick up a prospect to pick here or there for somebody that in theory the Flames can be okay to part ways with, I am definitely of the I agree with that standpoint. Now, Game Over Network is an independent production focused on community, inclusion, and quality people. If you're interested in supporting the Game Over Network, we have crowdfunding options available. In the description of this episode, you'll find a link to our Patreon page, and we're also working on a page through LaRouche, a crowdfunding platform for companies originating in Quebec. For LaRouche, we're aiming to raise $15,000, and if we hit that goal, we'll gain access to government grants that will allow us to employ more people. So if you have any ideas for what you'd like to see us see as giveaways from these crowdfunding efforts, let us know in the comments on Twitter, Instagram, and of course our Discord server, which you are more than welcome to join. And that's where you can catch Peter, myself, as well as the other Game Over Calgary staff, Conrad and Anand, if you ever want to talk shop with us. Now, switching gears here into our second period, a few other names that we kind of pegged as standouts for tonight, at least for you. You were really high on the pairing of Michael Backlund as well as Blake Coleman. And for me, I feel like there was a little bit of a redemption arc for Nazem Kadri as well, considering his kind of blunder he had in their game with Seattle. So again, I'll kick this right back over to you. What did you think? I'll let you share your thoughts about Michael Backlund as well as Blake Coleman, as well as just wanted to shout out all of our viewers from Mexico tonight. I have some family down there that are massive Flames fans, and they tuned into the game as well as the post-game show. So hope everybody down there is doing awesome.
Yeah, shout out Mexico. Yeah, happy to have you along with us here tonight. But no, I thought that Michael Coleman, holy cow, Michael Backlund and Blake Coleman. There we go. Although at this point, like they are basically the same person. But I thought that they did a really good job of just kind of controlling this whole game, and it is so. It feels oversimplistic to say it this way, but every time they were on the ice, the puck was moving in the right direction for the Calgary Flames. I thought that they just had a fantastic sense of how this game was going and how they were able to kind of control it. And so I think for Calgary, that is a huge sign again that these guys are going well. And just looking at the stats now, on natural stat trick, 5-on-5, their expected goals for percentage, it was right around 60%, which I will take. I feel very comfortable with that as a line. I thought all night it was the kind of play that this team needs to play constantly, right? It was battling all along the walls, creating those opportunities. And it just felt like every time they were out there, Zari was getting a chance in front. Coleman was getting a really good look. And it was them who kind of kept things alive that led to the Uyghur goal. It was Coleman and Backlund battling down low. Now, it was Pospisil with them at that point. But still, it was those two guys who were really central in kind of creating those opportunities and just keeping the pucks alive and letting those guys get their opportunities. So I thought, again, they were, as they have been for most of the season, I thought that they were the most consistent line in this game, and I thought they were great. But I also agree with you. I think Nazem Kadri, the redemption arc is on for Nazem Kadri after the game on Saturday.
Absolutely. Going to Michael Backlund and Blake Coleman, you mentioned them being one of the most solid lines tonight. I apologize. I can't remember the exact word that you used for it, but I feel like you can make that argument for not only this season, but parts of last year as well, right? Like if you think about the season that Blake Coleman had, I believe it was 30 plus goals that was scored, maybe 25. Don't quote me on that. My stat keeping is absolutely horrible. But anyway, like those guys were two of the most solid guys in the lineup last year, and that's just seemed to have transferred over almost perfectly into this season, right? And you nailed it on the head as well. When you look at this roster, they're not built to be a team that uses their flashiness to win games, right? The skill that this team has, there's no McDavid, there's no Matthews on this team, there's nobody that is capable of just turning on a switch and taking over a game. And in order, and what we've seen so far for the Flames to find success is it's going to be these gritty plays, the wear you down shifts, the greasy goals. And I mean, I don't know about you, but that just has, Michael Backlund, Blake Coleman kind of written all over it. And that's guys that, we need and are, if the team is going to find success, they're going to have to find success. Now, going to Nazem Kadri, I won't talk too much on him, but I mean, I think redemption arc is the perfect way to say it, right? Considering, again, his blunder against Seattle that, you can make the strong argument that cost them the extra point. And then, of course, tonight, him tucking that game tying goal with less than a minute left in the third. When, I mean, I don't want to be that guy, but I maybe kind of wrote the team off just a little bit by that point, just because I thought Pittsburgh was locking him down relatively well. So it was nice to see him get back, kind of redeem himself for what we saw last game, and in the end, it paid dividends to picking up not only 1 but 2 points at the end of it. I think it would have been pretty cool to see him maybe tuck that shootout winner. When I saw him coming down, I kind of thought maybe, just maybe he would redeem himself even more. But nonetheless, definitely like a big game for him, a big game that was needed from him.
Yeah, and I think the whole part of this, because again, like historic start to the season and all of those things. And I know Eric Francis tweeted out that thing the other day that teams that have the start that the Flames have had, like 87% of them make the playoffs and stuff like that. I don't think we have those conversations. I think this year is still about building and still about kind of setting that foundation. And if you take a drink every time I say setting that foundation this year with the Flames, I apologize for your loss, because it's going to be a lot of drinking. But I think it's really important for this Flames team to really set those standards and set those to just like, this is what it's going to be when you are a Calgary Flame. And I think with both examples that we talked about, Backlund and Coleman with me, Kadri with you, all of this is setting exactly what you want for your young players, the Zaris, the Pospasils, the Coronados, whenever Perek comes up and all of those guys, right? Like you are looking to set that example. And for Backlund and Coleman, they are setting the example of, this is the work ethic that it is going to take. I don't care that I got that C on my jersey. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to be the hardest working guy out there. And Blake Coleman has made mucho dinero out this season and in his NHL career, and he is still out there. He is still grinding. He is still battling. He doesn't care how many Stanley Cup rings he's got weighing him down. He is out there continuing to compete and continuing to battle. And for Nazem Kadri, the lesson, and sorry that I'm rambling now, but for Nazem Kadri, the lesson here is that you're allowed to make a mistake, and even one that costs you a game. Now, don't make a bunch of them, but if you make one, we're still going to trust you. We are still going to put you back into that lineup, into that same spot, and have you keep going. Does Adam Klapka have the same leash as Nazem Kadri? Of course he doesn't. That would be insanity. But I do think that this is good to show these guys, like, hey, look, you can have an off game. You can have a misstep, and we're not going to send you to the ECHL. We are going to let you work through it and let you kind of battle here. And so I think these are important lessons as you are developing a culture and trying to develop this identity of being the Calgary Flames.
Absolutely. And identity is a great way to put it as well. With all these young guys coming up, again, I'm probably just repeating what you said at this point. But, with these young guys coming up, I mean, I don't know if you call Zari a young guy at this point, but he's the first name that came to mind. But like you said, even the Pereks of the world, when they kind of come up into this main league, you're going to be wanting them to follow in the footsteps of the guys that are putting their best foot forward every single night. That is what you want to build a star player around, right? And that's exactly what those two guys are doing. And I would honestly, you apologize for rambling. It's now my turn to ramble, and I apologize for it. But I will also, shout out a guy like Ryan Lomberg as well. That guy is just, at least for me, a bona fide like spark plug. Every time I see him on the ice, his feet are moving at 110% speed. Like, I don't know if I've seen a guy in a Flames uniform since probably Ryan Lomberg of past that has had this kind of work effort and drive and determination. By no stretch of the imagination is he a guy that is going to take over games, but he is that kind of energizer buddy you need in a locker room on the ice. And I mean, I think it paid dividends for Florida as well. So when I found out he was coming back, I'm going to quit my rambling session after this. But when I found out he was coming back, I was just ecstatic. I mean, if you check out our staff bios on the Game Over Network website, you will find Ryan Lomberg as my favorite Flame player because of that reason. And everybody needs a guy like that, a guy like Ryan Lomberg. Anything else to kind of add in terms of this segment here? I know we might be running a little long.
No, I do agree with you on the Lomberg point. And again, anything I would be saying would be just kind of parroting you. But yeah, it is nice that like I don't think anyone when they're growing up is like, man, I'm gonna grow up, I'm gonna make it to the NHL, and I'm gonna be a fourth line grinder, and I'm just gonna plug away, and I'm gonna get punched a lot, I'm gonna get hit a lot, but gosh golly gee, I'm gonna provide that energy. No one really thinks that when they're 8 years old, they're not working on their forecheck going up against a garage. But he has found this role in again with this team and with a couple of others, and one that helped them to a championship. And now he is fitting that role on this team perfectly. He has found his role, and he is just maximizing his abilities in that spot. And it's awesome to see. I love it. I'm with you. Anytime he jumps on the ice, you can tell like it's just the old pro wrestling Jim Ross business is picking up. You can definitely feel that when he's out on the ice.
Absolutely. Now, tonight, as you all know, Peter and I are hosting the Game Over portion of Game Over Network, the Calgary division, I guess you could call it. So, Game Over has you covered after the game, but in order to get ready to watch the Flames, you got to get on Game On as well. Game On Calgary is a short form daily news podcast covering everything you didn't know about the Calgary Flames. It is hosted by our other fellow Game Over Calgary staff, Anand and Conrad. And with them, they are giving you all your Flames news in under 10 minutes, Monday through Friday on the Game Over Calgary YouTube channel and in podcast form, which you could find at thegameovernetwork.com/pages/Calgary. Shout out to the two of them. They are great additions, members to this team, and I'm sure Peter can attest, we both loved working with the two of them so far. Now, on to our third segment of the post-game show. While we have been speaking quite highly about a few guys on the lineup, obviously, it wasn't a perfect game by any stretch of the imagination, and the biggest kind of takeaways from us in that sense was what we saw on the defensive end of things. So I'm going to let Peter kind of take a stab at this and kind of break down what he saw from the blue line back.
It's a great turn of phrase there, and I don't believe you meant it with to take a stab at it, because that's kind of what the defense was doing all night, just like, oh, try to get that, oh, try to get that, oh, try to get that. There was no defensive positioning all night with this team. They were. I was going to say dreadful. I think they were a step above dreadful, but they would have had to have improved to just be bad. I thought that they had a pretty dreadful night. Calgary got out high danger scoring chanced 13-6 in this hockey game, and honestly, that feels low. I just thought that there were way too many grade A opportunities for Pittsburgh, and when you have a young goalie who we are trying to work our way through and hand the keys to the car to, exposing him to that amount of pressure that quickly is almost abusive. It was a lot. And I knew this was going to be a problem coming into it, and this was the first time where I thought it really showed up some of the defensive liabilities, and it gets frustrating when it's the guys who you're supposed to rely on. Like Anderson just got beat on that one goal down low. Now the puck kind of bounces around a couple times before it gets in, but it starts with Achari just beating him down low, and that is, I think it is an unfair standard to hold Weegar and Anderson to, that they just have to be perfect. And they certainly weren't the only culprits in this game. But yeah, this was the one where that whole, this team may not be all that good defensively. I thought that showed up in a big time way this game. I thought they were awful on defense all night.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, but I feel like this won't be the first, this is the first, but this won't be the last time we're going to kind of have a conversation like this. And granted, I mean, I'm surprised we haven't had a talk like this earlier. When you look at just the line pairings, it kind of just makes you cringe a little bit with at least the bottom couple pairings that are on this team. So, I was surprised that we're not having this conversation a little earlier, even though it is so early on in the season. But I agree wholeheartedly with what you said. There were times tonight that line, or just about every defenseman on the ice, kind of got outworked in some facet of the ice. And again, I'm going to circle back to that third period goal, because that one really stood out to me, right? I mean, I played hockey my entire life. I'm not saying I played good hockey my entire life, but the biggest takeaway as a defenseman, like I was, is if somebody's in front of your net, you got to move that guy at all costs. And that third goal, or third period goal, for Pittsburgh, you had Anderson and Ball both kind of sitting there half-heartedly hacking at the puck, trying to hope some way, somehow it gets knocked off. I forget who scored that goal, but whoever stick that was. And at the NHL level, you can't be making little, plays like that, right? Like, you think about the top guys in this league, and they're, putting every last effort they have to get that guy out of there. So I definitely think that, I mean, this won't be the last time we're having this conversation, and it might just be something that we get used to. I will say down the road, it's something that concerns me in the term of, like, what's this going to do on a guy like Dustin Wolf? Obviously, you can make the argument, gives him more reps, more pucks, but at the same time, when is more pucks on a constant nightly basis kind of a benefit to a goalie? And again, Conrad in the chat, we need a Robin Regeer desperately. I don't know if he's taking calls to come out of retirement, but yeah. I honestly would be happy to see him put the Flaming Sea jersey back on.
Yeah, well, they certainly need that type, and I'm with you. And yes, like, Dustin Wolf is, if he doesn't develop into the goalie that the Flames want him to, I don't think it is going to be because of a lack of shot attempts at him, because he's going to get a lot of those, like you mentioned, this year. And yeah, it is something that is a little bit concerning, and it was the glaring weakness so far this year. But no, like, if Dustin Wolf wasn't really good tonight, this game's probably over by the second period, where Pittsburgh just decided for half of that period they were going to take this game over, and they did, and Wolf was very good in it. And so, yeah, I think now that we have kind of seen this in action, and it's a little concerning that this is something that you can see that type of an effort, like you said, on a nightly basis. And to be fair to them, it's 1 out of 6, and that ain't bad. But I do wonder, and just to kind of toss it back to you, we're talking about some defensive liabilities out there. So if you were to make a switch on the blue line, Barry wouldn't help that part out of it. But mainly, maybe Hanley does. Would that be something you might look to as the Flames get ready for their next game?
I mean, in the long run of things, absolutely. I will say, I will hit you with the quote, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And somehow, some way, this team still continues to find ways to pull out wins when we don't really expect them to. So I would say, like you said, like I said, my biggest concern is just how long is Wolf going to keep up this kind of stellar kind of play? And you can make the same argument for Vadar as well. When it is time to make the switch, Barry, like you said, is not the option. I am not super well versed in a guy like Hanley, so I can't necessarily say that he is the solution to this. I don't know if that answer is readily available at this time. I even think if you look at the guys in the minors, like, I feel like if somebody is to come up, whether it's injury, you name it, I don't know if there's somebody on that blue line with the Wranglers that is something that could fix. Maybe like a Poirier, but I can't say, like, I hate to say it, but like, it might just be like, something that you gotta ride out here and try and give at the end of the day, just, even something crash the net, just put as many bodies as you can between Wolf and the puck. But it's, to summarize, it's not an easy fix, to say the least.
No, and you're right. Like, even down in the minors right now, like you said, like, I view Poirier not as just like a lockdown Robin Regeer type, right? Like, he is right. Like, he's skating, puck moving, all of those sorts of things. And so you're right. Like, they don't have I don't want to say they don't have a ton of that. They just don't have a ton of it knocking at the door
Yeah.
right now. And for Hanley, he is a bit more of that like kind of stay-at-home type of defenseman. And to Conrad's point, who do you take off of the left side then? Maybe it is a Bean sitting out for a night or someone along those lines. Just thinking of it off the top of my head, aside from the obvious, like you're not pulling Anderson, you're not pulling Uyghur or anyone like that. But aside from that, I don't know if anyone is completely untouchable. I guess Ball has been playing quite well out there with Rasmus Anderson. But the guys who I mentioned before, Backlund, Zari, Coleman, along with Rasmus Anderson, they were the only ones who had the positive expected goals for this evening. So I think that the answer is, who would you pull off that left side? I think the answer to that would be, I don't know, anyone. I don't know if there's a true lock on that guy right now, aside from obviously Uyghur and Anderson.
Now, we're going to be wrapping things up pretty quick here with our OT period. But before we do, we have merch. The Game Over Network has merch, and there's no better way to support something you love than by rocking it as clothing. I'm super stoked to get all of my Game Over merch and repping that when I'm out and about. But yeah, Game Over's apparel line has dropped with 3 unique designs. Whether you feel the nostalgic pull of our retro skater design, want to make a statement with our established design, or want to wear your love for goalies proudly with our Live and Die by the Goalie design, or if you just need another coffee to get through the winter, we have you covered. Designed by Brady Chalice from Game Over Winnipeg. Use the QR code on stream to take a look at our apparel store as well as our website, and help us rebuild local sports media in Canada while repping your community. Now, last segment of the night. I know people are probably tired of hearing at least me talk, maybe not so much yourself, but this is kind of the period we kind of open it up for questions on what we saw tonight. I mean, if you want to ask any other questions, I mean, fire away. I don't know how well versed I would be in answering those. Like, for example, what happened to the Game Over mugs? That is a great question.
They stayed awesome. I don't know what did happen to the Game Over mugs. I as far as I know, they're fine.
Yeah,
they became awesomer, maybe.
I would say so. That's probably my best bet. But yeah, this is your kind of chance to ask us anything, and we'll try and give you as good of an answer as we can. I'm just looking through the chat right now to see maybe if I missed anything. I saw Anderson is too busy being an offensive beast to defend. I absolutely agree with that. I mean, how awesome are these stare downs every time Anderson puts the puck in the back of the net? I am honestly hoping, I'm optimistic he scores 50 just so I can see him do that 50 times. It's not going to happen, but I mean, man, is it just fun to see him. And somehow, some way, he finds a way to find an opposing team fan to do it too as well. So that's always pretty good.
Yeah, like as the season goes on, if it kind of ends up shifting the way that we think it's going to go, if you're sitting like front row, do not just throw on a Minnesota Wild jersey or whatever, just so you're the one he stares down. Like, I think that would be kind of cool. But aside from that, I want him to score no more goals at home this year. All of them on the road, so you can stare down opposing teams' fans. It is the best gimmick in professional sports right now, and I love it so much.
Very true, very true. Talk about Justin Kirkland. Yeah, I mean, we've all kind of heard the story of what he's kind of gone through in his personal life and the road it took for him to make it back into the NHL. And obviously him scoring his first career NHL goal just a couple games ago was absolutely fantastic. It's you gotta love story. And then as well as him, I mean, in the shootout, I guess we didn't really touch much on the shootout here, but was Justin Kirkland a guy that you kind of thought would be in the shootout, at least in the top 5 picks to go?
Yeah, it's I don't know if anyone at the beginning, even of the shootout, thought, well, of course, this is going to end with Kirkland scoring and Malkin getting stopped by our rookie. Like it's wild how all that played out, and apparently he's just got this super move that can't be stopped. But no, it's a great story. And as far as again, like talking about fitting your role, he's fit it perfectly, right? Like he's out on the penalty kill, diving in front of shots, and we don't need to re-legislate the shot blocking debate here in Calgary, but it's nice when you get to do it, or when you have to do it, that you do it. And he's been awesome at that. And I have loved it. And I don't want him to go when Rooney is back. I think that he has earned a spot in working his way into this lineup, and if that means that they send down the 6'8" dude on the other side, then I think that's what you do. But I think Kirkland has been one of those guys who's earned a spot so far. So yeah, I've loved what I've seen from him so far.
I agree wholeheartedly. What should we do with our cap space? We've got about 20 mil in cap. We're just about at the as far down as we could go. I mean, right now I feel like it's a bit of the waiting game here, right? I mean, I can't. There's obviously like the speculation the Flames are kind of shopping for a top six center, but right now where we're kind of standing, I kind of want to hit the pause button on any kind of roster shakeups, I would say. I don't know where you stand on this, Peter, but I'm kind of the firm belief that let's maybe wait and see where the Flames are at, maybe 25 games in, 40 kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think any kind of movement this time of year can be a little bit premature. Everyone's still trying to figure out who they are and what they are, right? So I think anything this time of year can get a little bit just reckless potentially. But I do think that it is a tricky spot because on the one hand, you want to. I think Trilling used this a couple times. You want to be able to weaponize your salary cap space, and I think Calgary's in a spot for that. Now, you don't want that to come with an opportunity cost. Like if everyone has this idea that, oh, you can just take on a couple bad contracts, get some assets with them, that'll be fine. If a couple of those bad contracts are forwards, I don't know where they go right now. We're already having a difficult time fitting all of these guys in. And then people like Kirkland come and steal our hearts, and we don't know where to put them either. And so I think if there is a very specific set of circumstances where a team is trying to do something stupid with their salary cap and need to move out a previous something stupid with their salary cap, and that happens to be a defenseman, then you welcome him into the organization with open arms and also accept that second round pick and move on from there. But right now, I'm with you. I think you just kind of stand pat, and if some kind of glorious opportunity comes your way, I think you do that. I don't that I'm certainly not at a point where you're mortgaging any part of the future to build onto this team. But if there are transactions that can come up that you can win, that can help you maybe a little bit in the short term, but definitely in the long term, I think you absolutely have to take advantage of those spots. It can't get in the way of the overall goal of building for the future and keeping some of these spots open for these kids when the time is right for them to come up.
Yeah, nailed it. Bingo in that sense. How does one more question sound for tonight?
Perfect.
Awesome. Matt C, do you think Kuzi is working playing with Kadri? Um, I don't know. I'm on the fence. I feel like he's had a bit of a quiet start to the season, to say the least. I definitely haven't loved what I've seen from him lately. I guess when you compare to what we saw from him when he was with the Flames last season. I mean, I think it's only kind of time will tell to see if the line with Kadri's working. At the moment, no, but it could just be something where you need to find the right spark to make something work between the two of them. I mean, I'll flip it to you here, see if you stand a little bit differently. But I mean, just all around in Andrei Kuzmenko's game, I can't say it's been something that I've loved lately.
Yeah, and they are in a bit of a tricky spot. Their winger all through camp goes down on the 11th hour before things get going. And so you've had a rookie in Sam Honzik there, and then a basically rookie in Matt Coronado with them. And so it has been a bit of a difficult fit, but no, it hasn't been great for them so far. I do feel like they are close though. Like it just feels like there's the other night, Coronado makes a good play off of the wall, centers it to Kadri. He gets a chance stopped, and Kuzmenko's robbed on the rebound. They had another one tonight where it looked like they had a really good opportunity, and it's just a pass is that far off. And now that's going to happen when you are facing NHL defenses. But no, it hasn't been perfect so far. I do think it's getting there, but it certainly hasn't been the magic that we saw from him last year.
Yeah, I mean, I will like give him. I'll defend him a little bit in the sense that we are just a handful of games into the season here, so it's something that I can't say I'm too concerned about. And I mean, when we talk about guys with slow starts, I wouldn't say we gave a lot of leeway, but we put up with Huberdeau for 2-3 seasons of what you can call a multiple year slump. So, 5-6 games of him not being kind of what we expected is something I'm not too concerned about. And I'm willing to give it a little bit of time. And again, I mean, we can be as, critical as we can on this team, but as it stands right now, I believe we're first in the Western Conference with 2 points tonight. I don't know how Winnipeg and Dallas did tonight, because I believe they were the only two above us. But either way, we're sitting pretty nice right now, and it's something I can't say I'm too concerned about in the current moment.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. That's very fair. Very fair, yeah.
Sweet. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up there. Just wanted to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Shout out to everybody that, again, tuned in tonight, has been following us. Feel free to share with your friends if you think that we kind of know what we're talking about a little bit even. And either way, just share some love to the Game Over Network as a whole. As far as the next Game Over Calgary goes, I will be back on Thursday night with, I believe, Conrad, and we will be breaking down the Flames and Hurricanes. Anything to add, Peter?
No, looking forward to that. Hurricanes got a last-minute win against the Oilers tonight, which we celebrate on Game Over Calgary. So congratulations to the Hurricanes on that one. And I hope that you left all those good feelings up in the northern part. But no, you guys are going to crush it on Thursday. Already looking forward to it. And as you said before, Game On Calgary the next couple of days is going to get you set for that before you and Conrad steal the show on Thursday night.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we will talk to you guys then.